many reasons to be thrilled about Bugatti's forthcoming Tourbillon supercar, including its V16 engine, jaw-dropping styling, 276 miles per hour top speed, and $4.3 million price tag. However, the cabin is the place where a select few will get to interact with this incredible contraption, and trust us when we say that it's worth every penny. In comparison to the cabin inside the Chiron it replaces, it's even finer. Would you mind getting behind the wheel, opening the scissor door, and taking it all in? We're not sure what this will be called yet. That won't be revealed for probably a few months, but this is the car. So let's check it out due to its a lot of fascinating technology that I want to explore. All right, let's look at it. The first thing we notice about it looks great. The doors open now, which is a feature that was, I guess, absent from the previous Bugatti models. This isn't something I thought was necessary, but it's cool and a nice little aesthetic difference among this and the Chiron. But man, this car looks really good. We notice that it resembles the Chiron, but it's still much more aggressive. It has these cutouts here that are for airflow, channeling air through the car's bottom, top, and out over the spoiler in the back. There are some things in the interior that we'll go into more detail about later, but for now, let's concentrate on this. This is the car's centerpiece. Rather than downsizing to a V10, V8, or 6-cylinder, as some other companies are doing. This car, the Bugatti Rimac, has a V16 naturally aspirated 8.3L engine. To put this in perspective, the previous model, the Chiron, had an 8L displacement and was a W16 with quadratic turbos. However, instead of making the engine smaller, they made it bigger and removed the turbos. This means that it can now reach a glorious 9,000 revolutions per minute. If you're comfortable with cars that can reach that level of revving, the Porsche 911 GT3 comes to mind as one of those amazing vehicles. Now, we have a Bugatti vehicle that will have a sound to match everything else about this car, including the performance, which we should also examine. As I mentioned earlier, the naturally aspirated V16 engine in this car will now produce 1,000 horsepower from the engine alone, without the need for turbos. But wait, there's more. 2 electric motors up front, along with a battery located directly behind the passenger seat, will add another 800 horsepower to the vehicle, giving it an overall power output of 1,800 horsepower. Thus, it is remarkably similar with the Rimac NAA, but with a lighter and more elegant body. This is not to disparage the NAA because it is a fantastic car. However, this is where remote technology becomes important because Bugatti and Remote are now partnered, or rather part of the same company. As a result, we anticipate roughly 37 miles of range when operating solely on the battery and electric motor. In keeping with the Holy Trinity hypercars of the past, this car has a 9,000 revolutions per minute V16 engine, which is nice to see yet primarily for the performance gains you'll be getting. Another thing I want to point out is that you see the huge diffuser here, this absolutely massive diffuser, which is freaking awesome because it starts where the seats are. Mate showed me around the car and sort of explained to me how this is going to help the aerodynamics department so much that this will allow the car to reach a top speed of 277 miles per hour, which is, I think, about 10 or 15 miles per hour higher than the Chiron, or at a minimum the base model Chiron. You won't have huge, crazy wings like a 911 GT3, but instead you'll have an active wing that primarily serves as an air brake to help you reduce due to this car has a lot of power, and you'll need to stop in order that you can start right, but again, to keep the car moving. We have a carbon Monaco chassis because it is as light as possible. I'll include some pictures of the car's naked appearance, which is almost as good as it looks with the shell on. That may sound strange, but you get the idea. What's really interesting, though, lies in the interior due to, I think, some really cool things have been done there. If you know anything about Bugatti, you know that they are known to be fairly conservative when it comes to technology and digitizing the interior entertainment experience. Once again, they're keeping things extremely simple yet sophisticated. Bugatti Rimac has teamed up with a Swiss watch company to create this extremely elegant gauge cluster, and everything you see here is pretty much what the car will look when it's finished and hits the road in 2026. Here's your tachometer, along with what appears to be your power output and a number of other tiny gauges. What's really cool about this is how you're able to turn the wheel without disturbing anything you're seeing on the gauge cluster. So you simply have two twin spokes that turn here on the stock, and sure, this controls everything. It's a really fascinating visual experience when you just turn the wheel, which is something I haven't done yet, but when you do, it looks awesome. Next, you have your little paddle shifters right here. And lastly, there's a screen right where that B logo is. Bugatti usually doesn't do screens, but a lot of customers will want an item like Apple CarPlay because it's just something people tend to have anymore. I don't think this prototype model is functional, but basically, a display will emerge from that tiny cutout in the side and eventually flip horizontally to reveal an extremely tiny little display that supports Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Maybe that will happen in the future. Let us know in the comments below what percentage of Bugatti owners you believe use an Android phone instead of an iPhone. Apart from that, there's something more that's incredibly fascinating to mention. I'd truly be interested in knowing. The KIG EG is a hypercar with a seating configuration and gauge cluster inspired by LaFerrari. The tight restrictions of the chassis allow the seats to be adjusted up and down, but not back and forth. Rather, the pedal box is shifted in a back-and-forth motion, a la Ferrari. One unique feature that makes the car stand out is the LED light strip. There are additional knobs made of crystal glass, one of which is huge and used for control. The idea of Bugatti incorporating parts from other hypercars, such as the KIG EG, is reflected in this design. The KIG EG is an all-around useful and aesthetically pleasing hypercar. The Ferrari's high-revving engines, which have been seen in other supercars, combined with everything they do best, elegance, build quality, aerodynamics, top speed, makes for an amazing combination of intriguing ideas all in one car. As I mentioned earlier, the name of the vehicle is still unknown, but we do know that it will start at a whopping $4.6 million, so it's definitely not a cheap car at all. However, it looks amazing and feels like they've given us everything with this vehicle. We now have the sound, which was the only thing that Bugattis really lacked. I'll play a clip of the engine's expected sound now. So, we have the power, the acceleration, and the sound. We can expect this car to reach 60 miles per hour in about 2 seconds, though I think it will be a little bit faster. Is this the perfect car? It's difficult to say, but we don't have one. The gorgeous Bugatti Tourbillon, which hasn't been driven or reviewed yet, is discussed in the video. The car's ability to both drive and be a visual feast is showcased in the video. Since always, Bugattis have been more than just automobiles. They're rolling works of art and a sensory delight. The 250 or so lucky owners of a Tourbillon might wish to take it for a spin, but anyone who gets to spend time behind the wheel and enjoys the splendor of the cabin would surely realize how beautiful the automobile is.